welcome and I think very attracting introduction into the second panel this afternoon. And first of all, I'd like to pick up something what you just mentioned, stating that what we do have to do, you asked whether we do lose something in risking or taking a risk right now. And yeah, continue moving on talking about citizen participation. And I think that's also something which came up in the previous debate when we heard here that employee financial participation is the highest point of participation. However, I do stress that it is just a kind of another type of participation. And that's why we're now talking about citizen participation and not in particular employee financial participation. And in order to introduce you to another type of participation, I'm now going to talk about the general stock ownership plan as an alternative model. An alternative means of letting people participate in financial means, capital credit. So what's the background? What are we talking about? Well, the European challenge we are now facing right now is of what we have heard in the previous days, the unequal distribution of wealth among citizens in all European societies. So what we need to stress and attack at this point is that there is a concentration of important property assets among a small minority. That is why it is highly essential that we do provide a European solution to that kind of challenge. And how might such a solution look like? Well, the general stock ownership plan might be such a solution. Not this solution on its own, but another means of it. So it's a financing technique based on what we have been discussing yesterday, this morning, based on the ESOP logic, which provides undercapitalized EU citizens with access to capital credit. So, how does such a model look like? That's, I think, the basic question all of you might address to me. Well, first of all, let's think of state agencies creating privately owned business corporations, which we then call general stock ownership corporations, in possibly all European countries. Then, furthermore, each resident may get one share free of charge in this kind of general stock ownership corporation. However, there is a limited number of shares which one can possess in order to avoid that kind of concentration. Then, professional management will have the task to decide on profitable local investment opportunities. So one may think of energy projects, infrastructure projects, or possibly the privatization of publicly owned enterprises, an issue which we are currently discussing, or which is even currently discussed with regard to Greece. That's exactly what's supposed to happen over there. So, once the investment decision has been made, money is borrowed from private sources, so from banks. And these loans necessary to make the investments are secured by state guarantees. So we're not using the borrowing power of the company, but the borrowing power of the state. And subsequently, it is invested in the respective project. And finally, once earnings are generated from these investments, they are first used to pay off these loans. And afterwards, once these loans have been paid off, they might be, they should be used to be paid out to all shareholders, to all plan participants as dividends. So what are the rationales for such a policy approach? Well, first of all, it's a second source of limited income for every European citizen. So the income will be derived from production and the development in the specific region. It is also a vehicle to market the economic activity in each member state, and thus in the European Union. The profits do remain in the member states, and thus in the European Union. The generated profits are directly linked to every resident, to every citizen. And, of course, it also reduces the social security dependence as the income from those dividends which the General Stock Ownership Corporation generates rises. So to conclude, the General Stock Ownership Plan needs to be introduced as a part of the European economic and social policy. It is a link between economic and social policy. And that is why the Commission, the Council, and the European Parliament need to raise the importance of the General Stock Ownership Plan at the EU level. And you, Mr. Praticcioli, just said we should be keen to just risk something. What do we have to lose? That was your question. Well, that's why we propose the European Investment Bank to set up a revolving fund to promote the GSOP at the European level. Thank you very much.